Hey guys, this is Claudio Giuliano here, and I'm excited to be back with you for this new video. Today we are doing a follow-up review of the M4 11-inch iPad Pro. We reviewed the M4 iPad Pro last year, and I've been using it ever since. Now that we are a year in, I wanted to check in with you guys and let you know where we land. If you are new to the channel, I'm a graphic artist, digital illustrator, and large-scale printer. I've been in the field for over 26 years now. I'm also a design and print studio owner for 17 years now. You may have seen my work in films like The Amazing Spider-Man 2, The Dark Knight Rises, and various other films over the years. So as always, we are covering things from the perspective of the working creative professional. So I've been taking you around the hardware. We went into detail on the hardware in the main review. We got the thin and sleek design on both the 11-inch and the 12.9-inch. Let me just say, I love the 11-inch. I've always felt it strikes the perfect balance between nice screen size and portability. And the nice thing about the 12.9-inch on the M4 is that when you combine the thinness and the reduction in weight that they shaved off, it makes a significant impact for holding it. So we got a fantastic design with both the 11-inch and the 12.9-inch iPad Pros. And then we also got the new Magic Keyboard. And this Magic Keyboard gave a more integrated experience, a more uniformed experience. It's a better design, it was lighter, it uses aluminum on the inside, has the new Force Touch trackpad. I do wish Apple would use a different material than this polyurethane material. It shows a lot of wear over time. I've never liked it. You know, it gets really greasy, hard to clean. I really hope Apple changes the material on the next Magic Keyboard. I think it's time for this material to go to the graveyard. I also love the typing experience of the Magic Keyboard. So the entire experience as a whole from the big picture, more unified, more streamlined, it's lighter, it's a better design, it's better all around. One of the showstoppers on the M4 iPad Pro is the tandem OLED display. It's a beautiful screen that stacks two OLED panels on top of each other to achieve unrivaled brightness levels, great contrast ratios, 120 Hz ProMotion, inky blacks. It's everything a creator would want out of a display. I do want to see Apple take a more proactive approach when it comes to eye care and eye health. I'd like to see them up their PWM dimming rates because I do think that would go a long way in terms of eye health. Okay, we are now going to start working on the machine as we get into doing a recap on power and performance. So as we dive into this gallbladder sketch, I want to share a little story with you guys, a little something personal. So for years since my late 20s, I had these really bad flare-ups, the worst stomach pain you could ever imagine. The first time it happened, I thought I caught a stomach bug. It lasted days, but it eventually passed. So over the years, I would have these bad episodes, and it really sucked. About 2 years ago, twice in 1 year, I went down badly, with pain lasting over a week the first time and nearly 2 weeks the second time. In the back of my head, I knew something wasn't right. I kind of didn't want to know what it was, and doctors kind of led me in the direction of it being acid reflux and ulcers. So this year it got to a point where I literally couldn't digest anything. And about a month ago, I went down again. And this time it was the worst by far. Pain that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. Since it passed every other time, I tried to ride it out again in the worst pain you could ever imagine. And then by the seventh day, which was coincidentally, WWDC, when we got all the announcements about iPadOS 26, that actually got me kind of excited. So I got some energy from that. And the next day I came out of the bedroom and I thought I was feeling better. My wife looked at me and she was like, "Bro, you are yellow. We have to go to the hospital right now. You're jaundice." So she forced me to the ER. Took me to the ER. Long story short, it was my gallbladder. It was filled with stones. There was a blockage blocking the bile duct, causing me to go jaundice, which gave me a brutal liver infection, which also made me septic, and my gallbladder was hemorrhaging on the inside and out. So I came close to dying, but I made it through. We're here, we're creating, and after 2 surgeries and 5 weeks of recovery, I'm finally getting back to work. Luckily, I have my wife because she's really the one who saved me. And even as yellow as Bart Simpson, I still wasn't going to go. I still didn't want to go. I didn't want to accept it. As stupid as that is, that's where my head was at. But once I looked at myself in the mirror, I kind of knew there was no fight in this one because my eyes were yellow. I mean, I did say to my wife, I think it'll pass. I think it's just from being in the dark for so long. She's like, no, you idiot. You're jaundiced. Like, there's something wrong with your liver. I mean, it was a crazy experience. So in the original review, I showed you the workflow for when I don't have the iPad in the keyboard. And in that review, I was showing you the new workflow with the squeeze gesture and how that makes things very streamlined. Here, I'm showing you the workflow that I use when I have the iPad in the Magic Keyboard, which is a hotkey workflow. So you'll notice this burgundy tip I have on the pencil. This is the Pen Tip's fuzzy tip, and it's a felt style tip that's designed to mimic the feel of Bristol board on the pure glass. I've been really enjoying it for the times that I have the pen mat off. I have the pen mat on the iPad most of the time, but the great thing about it is it's designed so you can take it on and off whenever you want. I'll have a link in the description if you want to check Pen Tips out. So as you can see here, we've been demoing things in Clip Studio Paint, and we're getting excellent performance. And that's a common theme you're going to find when you're using the M4 iPad Pro. And that's the case a year later. And performance is identical to when it came out of the box. Honestly, it still feels brand new. So when this iPad Pro came out, a lot of people were saying that it has a chip that's too powerful, that it doesn't take advantage of its software. But now you can see how Apple kind of lays the groundwork for what's coming in the future. Now that we see what iPadOS 26 is, we have liquid glass, and these are all things that the M4 chip is going to take advantage of, and that's what I was talking about in the original review. Extraordinary performance with Art Studio Pro, of course with the Real Paint Index. You're never going to feel like you've hit a peak on this machine when it comes to performance. Everything is going to feel extremely fluid and fast the entire time that you're working on it. So let's take a look at some logo projects that I've been working on here on the iPad. Every logo that I create for a client, it all starts here on the iPad Pro. This is where all my ideas get worked out, rough iterations and sketches. The 11-inch in particular allows me to have a lot of creative versatility. For example, if I'm not in the studio and an idea comes to me, I know I can quickly grab the 11-inch wherever I am and get that sketch in. Or, for example, if I'm winding down and in bed and an idea comes to me, I can get that idea in that moment. And I think that ultra portability and versatility is what makes the iPad such a powerful tool. So what you've been seeing here is a mascot logo that I've been working on for a client. And then, of course, we're going to take this into vector software and fully render it out. So this is the rebranding that I've been working on for the shop. And I've been going back and forth with different ideas. I think you guys know, as creators, we kind of aren't the best at doing stuff for ourselves. I put this off for way too long, but finally got it started. And I'm excited to start getting it rendered out for our 17th year anniversary. And that is going to bring us into our next segment, which is vector creation software for the iPad Pro. I want to go over the stuff I use and talk about that. Now, because I run both a design firm and a large-scale print shop, there's a production side to my work that requires the Mac. For logo design specifically, I often bring these sketches into Adobe Illustrator to render the final vectors. That's also directly tied to various technical workflows in terms of print production, RIP software, plug-in driven workflows that operate our machines. It goes deep. So there's various technical reasons on why I use the Mac for this process. But there are plenty of occasions where I will do the full design process on the iPad Pro, from sketch to fully rendered vector. So when it comes to vector design and drawing tools for the iPad, let's start with Illustrator. So if we compare Illustrator for iPad versus the Mac version blows it away. And in 2025, Adobe actually has done great work on the software. Illustrator runs beautifully on an M series Mac, and it is very feature rich. But on the iPad, it's the total opposite. They haven't updated it in forever. It really feels abandoned. The only thing I like about Illustrator for the iPad is what they've done with the tools for when you're hand drawing with a pencil. They do feel organic. But if I'm going for a classic vector workflow where I'm using the keyboard and the trackpad, or if I'm building with shapes and the pen tool, I'm going to be doing that in Affinity Designer. There are also other great vector apps for iPad like Amadine and Linearity Curve. So if you've never used the iPad Pro before and you're a vector artist, you have a variety of options and software to get that work done. Okay, let's talk about video editing on the iPad Pro. Something I do often. In fact, the video you're watching here was edited on the iPad Pro. And my software of choice is LumaFusion. I've been using it since 1.0, and it's a fantastic pro editor for the iPad. And the majority of the videos here on the channel are also edited on the iPad Pro and done with LumaFusion. So a lot of people actually never realized that if you were using LumaFusion and you had Stage Manager activated, you can export a video in the background. I've been doing that for a long time now. I showed that in the original review. But now with iPadOS 26 coming in, you have a more official way to export in the background system-wide, and that's a great thing. So we're going to be getting a lot of new features with iPadOS 26. I'm sure you've seen a lot of stuff on it already, and this is coming in the fall. The public beta is available now. I haven't put it on the machine yet. I have a lot of work going on. So, I've used to do this all the time, and I've ran into situations where something breaks and it breaks for a while before it gets fixed. So I think I'm going to be skipping putting the beta on, but you can see here, we're getting a lot of stuff here. We're getting an all new multitasking system. We are getting better file management with the new Files app. We are getting the preview option, so you can preview what your files are. They'll open up in preview like on the Mac. A lot of Mac features coming to iPadOS, and this is a great thing. Of course, we're getting a redesign with liquid glass, so it's a very feature-rich update. There's a lot of stuff coming, and that's a great thing. It kind of goes back to what I've always been saying, and I've been saying this since 2015 and the original iPad Pro, that the system would evolve and expand over time, and it has. I said in the original review that macOS doesn't need to run on the iPad. I've always believed that, and I think with iPadOS 26 you can see why. Something I've always talked about with iPadOS is how much it leans forward, both in its design and how it invites you to work. It's a system that instantly presents itself to you. It pushes outward, meeting you at the forefront, encouraging direct manipulation, gesture, motion. There's an immediacy to it that makes you want to touch, create, and respond. macOS, by contrast, feels more like it leans back. It waits. It's very powerful, yes, but it's more reserved. So at the end of the day, they are both great systems. Each system is just very specifically designed for the specific tool that it's working on. So I've had every iPad Pro since 2015. We've reviewed most of them here on the channel. The M4 iPad Pro in particular has been my all-time favorite iPad Pro. I really think it all came together with the M4 iPad Pro, making it feel like a unified package. With the new thinner design, the OLED display, the better designed Magic Keyboard, and the Apple Pencil Pro. And with iPadOS 26 coming in the fall, the experience is going to be better than ever. So I've been highly considering the nano texture display. I get a lot of glare in my workspaces, but I've also been hearing really good things about how it feels with the pencil. So like I've been saying, the M4 iPad Pro still feels brand new. If you bought it today, it would still be future-proof. But the M5 is coming. I'd love to see Apple kick the RAM up on the 256 gig and the 512, and I'd love to see the nano texture come to all storage options. I want to thank you guys for tuning in today. If you like this video, it'd be great if you can share it with a friend, drop a comment, drop a like, but most of all, it would be best if you subscribe. Stay well.